Welcome to a new episode of our leadership video series, where we talk to leaders who are shaping the future of work and inspiring others along the way. Today, we're joined by Candace Rudny, HR and People Operations Leader at HTX Labs. With experience guiding organizations through change, shaping strong company cultures, and balancing technology with the human side of HR, Candace shares her insights on emotional intelligence, setting the right tone for culture, and what it takes to lead for transformation. Let's dive in. What role does emotional intelligence play in leadership today, and how can leaders strengthen it in themselves and in their teams?
Emotional intelligence really needs to be the foundation of leadership because without it, you're not going to build trust. You're not going to make that environment where employees are going to feel like they can talk and bring ideas and share concerns, which is so important with being able to have emotional intelligence be every day in your organization, in your company, or even just in your team. So without it, you're not going to build that trust. You're not going to create a psychologically safe space for your employees. And leaders who lead with emotional intelligence, they're able to navigate really difficult conversations. So giving back that negative feedback, if you've already built that trust and you do it with emotional intelligence at the foundation, you're going to have employees who want that feedback from you, who want to hear how they can grow and improve. But if you just approach it as the typical standard traditional, you got a 3, we need you to have a 5 on this scale, you're not going to get that level of trust, and you're not going to see that growth from your employees. A lot of times you'll see them end up leaving. So for me, it's also about being socially aware and also self-aware and just kind of knowing what's needed in that moment. I practiced emotional intelligence for a long time without realizing that's what I was doing. I've just always kind of been a very empathetic human, so it comes pretty naturally. But then you can, if you're practicing it, you can sense what's needed in those difficult moments from an HR perspective, especially because sometimes it is me needing to speak up and share the HR side of things, but sometimes it's me needing to be quiet and hear the other person out too, which I think often gets overlooked. So, as far as the second part of the question, leaders can strengthen emotional intelligence, and honestly, anybody in an organization can by practicing active listening. So having somebody just talk at you and not really listening to what they're saying, just waiting for your chance to talk. Those are things you really want to avoid. You want to have the active listening part where you are listening to understand. And I think that that's a really huge factor and a really great stepping or starting point for emotional intelligence.
You shaped company culture across different industries. What's the very first step you take to set the right tone?
The very first step I like to take is just to kind of listen. So when I start somewhere, I like to listen first and just get a feel for what the tone already is, because sometimes you might not need to make any changes, or the changes might be very small that are necessary. So a lot of times what I like to do is I'll spend the first week or two just getting a good feel for what's already in place, listening to managers, listening to employees, especially employees who are newer to the organization. They can give you a ton of insight because they're going to be living it at the same time as you. So they're going to be able to say, yeah, when I first started, this is what happened. But just getting a feel for the story and getting a feel for the energy that's already there. And then if changes are needed, or if there is a tone reset that's necessary, you really need to understand where the business wants to end up. It's great for me to put my own ideas in there, but if it doesn't align with the business and their goals, then it's really kind of pointless. And eventually I'm going to end up leaving and then they're going to end up going back to what it was before. So it really needs to align. And that's super important if you want to see it be successful.
How do you use technology in HR without losing the human touch?
Technology really should enable and enhance the human connection. It should never replace it. Once you replace it, then you're really getting rid of the human resources. It's really important to remember that human touch is necessary. So I've implemented all sorts of systems to streamline, and I think that that's super important. Especially, I've been a department of one several times. You have to streamline and automate processes, but I always like to supplement it with something. So using onboarding as an example, sure, we can absolutely automate the onboarding documentation, make sure all of that is set. But I always like to complement it either with like a video from the CEO if the CEO is not actually available to meet with the new employee, because it depends on the size of the organization, or even just me meeting with them and giving them a personalized walkthrough, giving them the opportunity to ask questions. There should always be that personal touch that accompanies the automated portion of things so that technology doesn't completely take over.
You've navigated mergers, acquisitions, and other high change environments. What's your go-to strategy for keeping people engaged during big changes?
Oh, transparency and communication. It has to be at the forefront, and especially coming from leadership. So you want to pick somebody who's going to be your change management champion, whether it's an employee that's like in the weeds with everybody or a leader who is really good with communication. But you do need to have somebody, and it's a good idea to have somebody in leadership that is a champion as well, because having their backing obviously is going to it's going to kind of trickle down, so it'll be leadership, management, employees. But you do really need to be transparent, and being transparent is going to build trust, which is going to make the change easier. It's not going to make people jump on board right away, but once they can see this is why it's going to benefit us, it's going to be way easier to get people to back it, jump on board, and then the change becomes easier. So 100% transparency and communication are my go-to.
If you could give one tip to new HR leaders, what would it be?
Don't try to do everything all at once. It's really easy to walk in and see things that might need to be changed. But if you try to jump on all of those things at once, you're not going to be able to give it 100%. So try to prioritize and pick the change that needs to happen first in order to make sure that you are supporting the organization the way that you should be. Then you can kind of tackle them one at a time from that point. But I've been there, done that, where I jump in and I'm like, this policy has to get done. We need to fix that and we have to change this. And I need to talk to this person, and it just gets so overwhelming. And if you can't give 100% of yourself to one thing, trying to spread it amongst many things is just going to make you feel really burnt out really quick.